What's up, everybody? Today's video is Lyon invents genius new cost-saving measure. My name is Greg, an American living abroad in Spain, learning the beautiful game of football, one question at a time with your help. And today's video is brought to you by the world famous Zealand, and on his channel Zealandism, I will include a link in the description so you can go and show my man some love, subscribe to the channel, do all the YouTube-y stuff when you're over there. So this is going to be interesting because everybody who's into football, I think that's funny. Like, I'm considering myself into football. But anyway, everybody who's into football knows about Lyon being relegated and then they were unrelegated. So this is, I believe, is talking about that and how they did that. So I'm curious to know because honestly, I was really into it when they got regulated, but then when they got deregulated or unregulated, I don't know how you would say it, but when that happened, I don't know. I just didn't follow the story as much. So I don't really know what's happening here, but my man Zealand never disappoints. So I'm pretty confident that this is going to be a good video. So before we get going here, go ahead and like the video. That definitely helps the channel. All right, let's go.
Something kind of insane is happening. Something that I didn't even know you could do, right? Because I try to emulate Zealand in a lot of the things that I do, and I've been accused in the past of maybe most of my success here on YouTube coming from the fact that I have emulated Zealand.
I think it's so awesome that he does that. I know it's the simple things, right? For me, at least.
Maybe most of my success here on YouTube coming from the fact that I have emulated Zealand in a lot of the things that I do. But one of the main things I do to try and copy Zealand, of course, is to play a lot of Football Manager. And in playing all of that Football Manager, I have never seen the option to cancel a transfer. Look, you can cancel a transfer before it's agreed. But when a transfer is actually agreed for a while, the ability to go back and cancel it seems like it shouldn't exist. And this is affecting my boy, Matt Turner. Matt Turner is somebody that I have interviewed once on the podcast I did with Julian Gressel, the MLS player currently of Minnesota United. And we had Matt Turner on the podcast, and he's an incredibly nice guy, right? And he has had a very, very interesting career. Like, genuinely one of the most interesting footballers you'll ever see. He played lower level college soccer. He ended up making a mistake that was so horrible it went viral in the United States. It made it onto a show called Not Top 10. There is, of course, a show on ESPN SportsCenter called Top 10, which is the top 10 plays. And if you are number one on the not top 10, you can imagine that is not a good thing. Matt Turner was there, and yet somehow after being undrafted into MLS, worked his way up to being a starting goalkeeper.
Oh God, now I gotta figure out, I don't want to go down the rabbit hole right now and figure out what Matt Turner did, but Zealand can't just put it out there like that. Anybody know what he did?
There, managed to swipe the starting goalkeeper, drafted into MLS, worked his way up to being a starting goalkeeper there, managed to swipe the starting goalkeeper spot in the U.S. national team, and then finagled all of that into a move to Arsenal, where he was half decent for a little while, and then his career has kind of gotten stuck in the mud recently. He's just got a crisis of playing time and confidence in a dual wielding sense. But overall, I think you get an idea, if you didn't know the lore of Matt Turner, of how ridiculously high and low and everywhere in between his career has gone. And he has risen to heights that would have been impossible to imagine for a younger Matt Turner in the situation that he was in. Right? And I was very, very happy for him as somebody that knows him personally. That he was going to be able to get kind of a fresh start and go to Lyon and get out of England and try to get back to what he can be, which is a very good goalkeeper. I know this because I've seen it. Right? Matt Turner at the World Cup. Matt Turner basically in the 2 years around the World Cup in either direction where he was really fabulous. The type of goalkeeper the United States produces. Maybe not brilliant with his feet, but just a natural, instinctive shot stopper. Somebody that could stone penalty after penalty, that could, stuff 1v1s, make miraculous saves, right? The type of guy that you want if a long shot's fizzing towards the corner because he might actually be able to get to it. He was moving to Lyon. It was an £8 million transfer, or dollar, or whatever it was, 8 million somethings, schmeckles, trident layers, that were sent over to Nottingham Forest for him to go to Lyon. And now Lyon is trying to cancel that transfer, which there's a good reason for it. It is not like they took one look at Matt Turner and went, oh, they didn't just look at him and go, oh, wow, this guy sucks. Matt Turner's not the guy that managed to fool his way onto a Premier League team or, by pretending to be somebody's cousin, or I think it was the guy that pretended to be George Weah's cousin. Wasn't that it? I have no idea. I need to catch up on that part of the lore. Lyon is in real.
I mean, don't be so hard on yourself, Zealand. There's actually something that he doesn't know. Wow. Imagine that. I mean, Zealand knows everything. Oh, maybe because this is Zealandism. That's probably why.
I have no idea.
Zealand would know.
To catch up on that part of the lore. Lyon is in really bad financial shape, right? They were provisionally relegated to the second division. They were able to overturn that, if you didn't know.
Yeah.
They were able to overturn that relegation on appeal, right? So they're not going down to the second division anymore. But as a result of that being overturned, they are now faced with, let me see if I can find that. They're still under transfer and salary restrictions following the jurisdiction outlined by the federation. And basically the salary restrictions are now reduced budgets to avoid relegation, right? So they reduced the amount of money they were supposed to spend. They were targeting a reduced outflow. And one of the ways they would be able to handle that is to, not spend 8 million schmeckles on Matt Turner and also pick up a wage for a guy that was at Arsenal not too long ago, which means his wage is at the very least hardy, right? This is not somebody that's going to come into a team in France and be in the lower half of the wage bill, right? This is somebody that is getting paid well. And so you're looking at the transfer fee and the wage that you're signing on to with Matt Turner and saying, well, gee, Willikers, Batman, if we could just remove that from our books. So apparently the process for this is a lawyer has been tasked by the Roan Club to negotiate with Nottingham Forest to try and negotiate an agreement where you would stay at the city ground. So you bring in a lawyer, and the lawyer basically... The more I think about this, it's just a retransfer. But I don't know if that's legal, right? If you've just had somebody transfer, can they not? I didn't think they could transfer so immediately.
Transfer?
Right? I know when you're playing Football Manager, for example, players will be unwilling to move for at least 6 months after you've brought them in. But in the same transfer window, can a player move twice, transfer, not loan, but move, transfer between clubs multiple times? I didn't think so. And at least in general experience, even if it is actually legal, it basically never happens. Because what this sounds like Lyon is trying to do is to renegotiate or to negotiate a retransfer. I wouldn't be surprised at all, based off the way that this is worded here on Yahoo Sports, if Nottingham Forest didn't even open the door for this guy. I mean, why would they? They just got the amount of money that they were okay getting. They got Matt Turner off their books, which is an ever important thing in the Premier League. Right? Matt Turner's happy with the move because he's getting a new start. It was a win-win-win all the way around until Lyon all of a sudden, ended up failing their health check because they've been in financial trouble for a while, and they're right back in the viewfinder of the firing squad here. But lost in all this is maybe what this is going to do to Matt Turner, because Matt Turner has been caught in this Lyon situation where he was worried that he just transferred to a club where he thought he'd be playing in Europe and battling in the top half of the French league to now he'd be playing in the French second division in a World Cup year. And in case you haven't noticed, the goalkeeper position at the U.S. national team is wide open because Turner hasn't been playing in as much. He's been in bad form. And now they're opening it up. Matt Freese and a whole host of other goalkeepers have the opportunity to be the starting goalkeeper, the most worshipped position in the United States, by the way, the most traditionally great position in a home World Cup, which is a life-changing spot to be in. And Matt Turner will have every expectation, and he has every ability to be that goalkeeper that is the guy for the United States going into the next World Cup. But he can't be playing in the second division, and he can't be caught in whatever this is. And just on a personal level, I feel bad for him too. Because one of the biggest issues Matt Turner has run into is this kind of yo-yo experience that he's undergone, and then at Nottingham Forest, and he makes a great play, and then all of a sudden he's terrible again. And the vitriol that you can get from the fans in those situations, we talked about this when I interviewed him. Right? In the idea that you'd be able to go to a different continent and get that fresh start had to have been a breath of fresh air for him.
Yeah.
But now that fresh start is soiled, no matter what happens. Let's say Nottingham Forest doesn't open the door, right? The lawyer comes over and maybe there's...
That does suck, for a lack of a better way to say it. He had a chance to, because they were, last season, Lyon, they finished right in the middle, I thought. Like, somewhere between 6 and 10. I don't know. I just saw it. I wasn't following them. So to go from a team that had some potential to be, at least competitive to the, second division. Do they call it division? Second level, second division. So, man, dang, that does kind of
Nottingham
suck.
Forest doesn't open the door. Right? The lawyer comes over and maybe there's some sort of loophole in these things where you can pull a string and the whole transfer deal comes apart and it's magically like it never happened. I don't know why Nottingham Forest would want to do that. Then he goes back to Nottingham Forest where he was in kind of a toxic situation for himself. Not getting a lot of playing time, cup goalkeeper, right? Even though Nottingham Forest is obviously at a way higher level than they normally are at. So it's not the worst position in the world to be in, but there's no guarantee he'd even be the number 2. Right? It's been a volatile time for Matt Turner. Or Nottingham Forest doesn't open the door and he's stuck at Lyon. But now he's sitting at a Lyon team that tried to go to unprecedented lengths to get rid of him. That is not exactly something that fills you with a breath of fresh air.
But I don't think you can go back to Lyon, because then wouldn't they be in the same financial situation? I don't know. Hopefully somebody out there can give me some insight here on the comments, just exactly what's going on. I mean, obviously my man Zealandism is explaining, but just to get a different perspective.
Fills you with confidence. Right? That is not something that you're like, wow, I'm so happy to be here after they just spent, they're paying a lawyer buku bucks to try and figure out a loophole to get me launched back to Nottingham Forest.
Yeah.
That's just not a good, healthy environment to be in. Won't somebody think of the players? And a team trying to undo a transfer, which is just an insane sentence. And no, I don't think that this should be possible. You've got to... I'm worried about Matt Turner as a person, obviously, but the effect this could have on the U.S. national team. Because I don't think there's any argument that the best goalkeeper the U.S. can have is it...
I don't know. Unless I missed it, it doesn't sound like he really said why Lyon is doing it. I mean, we know, I guess it's, obvious, but he didn't really say, well, I guess he did say why, but he didn't say that it was because they were trying not to be relegated. I don't think so.
Informed, top of his game, Matt Turner. Any argument that the best goalkeeper the U.S. can have is an informed, top of his game, Matt Turner. That's the best option we got right now. And Lyon's fucking it up. Which means when the U.S. gets grouped by Uzbekistan and Tahiti, I am going straight to Lyon's offices, owned by American John Texter. I am confiscating his American citizenship.
Oh, God.
For the damage that he has put upon the U.S. national team in this situation.
Come on, Zionism.
But I return to the original question after kind of picking through all of the different stuff and what this means.
Yeah.
Is this possible? I don't think so.
Oh.
This has to just be another transfer that they negotiate immediately. Because if you can undo transfers that were agreed upon months ago, that opens up a whole pot. I mean, this is going to be like, when, you remember when Dusan Vlahovic was at Fiorentina, and then it became obvious he was running his contract?
This freaking guy. Just pull, like, how does he just pull this out of... Do you remember Dusan? What did he say? Hold on.
Months ago. That opens up a whole pot. I mean, this is going to be like when you remember when Dusan Vlahovic was.
Oh yeah, Dusan Vlahovic. Who doesn't remember them?
Fiorentina, And then it became obvious he was running his contract down, and it became obvious that he had decided a long time ago he was going to go to Juventus, and Juventus knew that too. And Fiorentina got super mad.
Mm-hmm.
And then that began an era that we now live in where players are secretly in agreement with other clubs to run their contract down and then go there. This might be the first through the door of a canceled transfer, where this is the Dusan Vlahovic story. And now all of a sudden we're going to have clubs in different places more regularly trying to cancel transfers that were a bit yesterday's news. I hope not.
I don't know. I mean, I don't necessarily know if that's going to happen, because did they make an exception because Lyon was a hot mess?
It's hard enough to keep up with the freaking transfers as it is. If people start getting yeeted back to the clubs they came from, I won't even know what's happening.
I mean, do you think that's why they made the exception, or is it an exception? Is this something that happens all the time? I mean, he has not a legitimate complaint, but he has a good point of contention, I guess I would say, because it does kind of screw up everything, because everybody's operating on one pretense, and now that is not the case. So, I don't know. It was an interesting story. By the way, this was a recommendation of my man Marcel. So he's a legend. He's a GOAT. Everybody over on my FM channel loves him. And actually, everybody on this channel loves him. Everybody loves Marcel. So he did recommend this. So I definitely do appreciate that. So that was super interesting. I love, anything that Zealand puts out. It's really intellectual and just makes you, think. So that's one of the things I like about that. Now, look. You got a couple options of things you could do. You could either subscribe to the channel, or you could like the video. I mean, you could be super awesome and do both. I mean, nobody's stopping you. Doesn't cost you anything. And then you get some great content in the future. So I really appreciate you being here today. As always, thanks for stopping by, and we will see you on the next video. Peace.